I think you're right. I think language is violence. I think policies are, I think it's more
Policy.
violent what is happening with people losing their jobs, their livelihoods, their health care. That is way more violent
Yep.
than anything done to that kid who's
Yep.
going to recover. He's not,
Uh-huh.
but what is happening in this country right now is way more violent because some people will not recover and some people's
Exactly.
lives will be lost as a result of these policies, which are way more violent. So, what are we talking
Absolutely.
about?
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
Lisa, Washington, D.C. is showing up today. Hey, welcome.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Olivia. Glad to be a part of the program. Very
Thank
good
you.
discussion today. Yes, I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, and this is so stressful, very stressful, very scary. Just want to call in, just trying to follow it. I know Mayor Bowser has informed her police departments to be in their proper uniform and so they can be identifiable to the communities in which they serve. We don't know which way this thing is going to swing. I think about the workers who, are going back. DC is just horrible with traffic. It's just going to be a real hot mess.
And it's going to be hot. What's your biggest
And it's going to
concern?
be hot.
Yeah.
Pardon?
What's your biggest concern?
My biggest concern is that, a few weeks ago, I think I heard on Clay's show a report where this mental man in the office there want to round up homeless on the street, and
Hmm.
put them in institutions. That's one of my concerns, a big concern. Another big concern is our children. I think that our children are in grave danger. That's what I think. I think they're going to try to gather them up and do
Mm.
things. That's what I
Mm.
really believe. And where was the accountability on January 6th? This man is a monster. These are demons, and it's just disheartening. And I got to think of ways to navigate within the city because I too, I have clients who have intellectual disabilities, and I'm just had a conversation yesterday about one of them. I'm very afraid because he's very tall, right? He's very broad, like a linebacker, and
Mm.
he's a young black kid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he's not he's verbal, but you can't understand him unless you know. You don't
Right.
know that he has an intellectual disability unless you know.
Right.
And
And they
so
don't
what's going to
care to
be the
know.
excuse?
And you know that
They
they don't
don't
care to
care
know.
to know.
Yeah.
So I have all kinds of anxiety right now, and just I feel sick to my stomach.
I feel everything that you're feeling. I don't have any answers, but I do know that this playbook is common. This is their playbook, right? And you're right, because the impetus for this troop, and I said it was 800. I've seen reports as high as 4,000 National Guard members, 700 Marines, $134 million is going to cost to come in to house and feed them, logistics, all of that. Those are taxpayers. We're paying for our own demise, by the way, for a town that is small with 700,000 people that welcome millions of people in with no problem. As I mentioned, crime is at an all-time low in DC. It is not dangerous, but this is what happened. So this kid named Big Balls, Edward Corestein, he was hired by Doge. He is 19 years old. Olivier Cole is here. He's 19 years old. They hired him to fire people. They hired him to, shrink the government, so to speak. But he was out there because he's a child bragging about destroying people's lives, right? And he's been very vocal and even naming himself Big Balls. You put a petulant child in charge of the livelihoods of people, right? So last week, I didn't talk much about it. He apparently got his ass beat, like pretty badly, very bloody. I'm not condoning it. I think it was horrible by some 15-year-olds, teenagers. Yeah. And this is, to me, the impetus for this. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm right because the drunk lady that was on Fox, who's now in charge of U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, the alleged drunk lady, because she allegedly was drunk. I mean, Saturday Night Live makes fun of her being drunk all the time. U.S. Attorney, this is what she said in justifying the D.C. siege. Play it, Snooze.
We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens, and it starts today. But it's not going to end today because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. And my final note is this. These kids understand that the jurisdiction is through the state attorney general, Brian Schwab. I did a poster of the young man from Doge who was beaten bloody with a severe concussion, a broken nose. And then I did a poster of what happens to those kids because I can't arrest them. I can't prosecute them. They go to family court and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Delusional.
Oh, could it be the 15-year-olds from Hyattsville who were arrested and charged with beating this kid? They're 15. He's 19. They're all children. Could it be that they're black? Because let me just, because it feels like Central Park 5 to me, because I remember I was in the Daily News sitting at my desk in the newsroom when the wild pack of wolves, Wilding, New York Post, Wilding, Daily News, pack of wolves, when teenagers were demonized for something before they went to trial, before there was a conviction, and many would say the newspapers created the environment for that conviction. We later find out they're now the exonerated 5 because DNA evidence proved that they did not rape that lady. Okay. They ruined their lives, though, right? Could it be that they're black? Because, Olivia, when I look at it, by the way, who's Big Balls? As I mentioned, Edward Korestein, teenager known as Big Balls, multiple sources, according to Fox News. The president shared a photo of him being bloodied. So you know this is the impetus for this thing that's happening in D.C., by the way, who claimed he was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. They weren't local thugs. They were teenagers. They were children. They were children whose brains aren't fully formed. We make provisions for children and I don't know if they're doing yoga, but if they are, don't we want to rehabilitate them? Unless they're black, I guess. Okay, but his attack, let me just go down the list. Where's my thing? Okay, Big Balls. He is one of 2 operatives for Doge who was given potentially wide-ranging access. They gave wide-ranging access to a child to a number of systems at the Small Business Administration back in February. Doge gained access to the National Finance Center. He got information, got your stuff. The system which provides payroll and human resource functions for the Department of Justice, the DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, among several agencies. 19-year-old was one of Doge's earliest hires. He was originally brought on as a permanent government employee at the General Services Administration before he resigned and then came back to work as a special government employee. How much are you paying him? At the Social Security Administration? Why are you putting him there? What are you going to do with the Social Security Administration? Okay, so that happened. But I think about, Olivia, we have a minute. Brock Turner. You remember Brock Turner, the Stanford swimmer?
I sure do.
The 20-year-old who raped an unconscious woman. The judge said, "Oh, he has such a future. I went to Stanford. He's a swimmer. He'll be okay. Let's not be too harsh on him." Gave him 6 months for raping an unconscious woman. Ethan Anthony Couch. I remember him because I was on these. I remember him because he got arrested again while I was on these airwaves back in June of 2013. This Texas teen was 16, intoxicated, under the influence of drugs, driving on a restricted license, and speeding in a residential area when he was involved in a fatal car crash. He lost control of his vehicle, slammed into a group of people, disabled this SUV. The collision cost 4 people their lives. 4 people died. 9 others were injured. The person, one of the people, 2 of the people in his car, 1 paralyzed for life. He was indicted on 4 counts. The judge looked at him and said, he has a future. He has a future. Let's give him 10 years probation. Slap on the wrist. Let's talk about it when we come back. I was running down as the impetus for storming D.C. and taking it over is the beating of this child who calls himself Big Balls, which I think he shouldn't have been beaten. I don't know what the circumstances were. I do know that he's been very vocal and arrogant about, the slashing of the jobs and all of the things and, kind of putting himself in the center of something, which children will do. Folk are on, the internet doing wild stuff all the time. Children, it's what they do. The children, the 15-year-olds that have been arrested, also children, even younger children. I don't know whether their mom got, I don't know whether he was responsible. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know what the circumstances. This is none of my business. But what I do know is that there is a history of giving grace to young people. And then there's a history of demonizing young people. Which group of young people get demonized? Which ones get called wild packs of wolves? And which ones get looked upon when they rape an unconscious person and say they have a future? Ethan Couch, 16 years old, got behind the wheel, drunk and intoxicated on drugs and alcohol, and killed 4 people, paralyzed another. And the judge sentenced him to probation, which he violated just 2 years, a year later.
Yep. Reoffended like
Video violated that. His mama took him to Mexico to try to escape. I remember that because I was on the air saying, oh, but here's why he got probation. His lawyer, this was the argument, Olivia, that and he was ordered to undergo therapy. But before the sentencing, his attorney argued that Ethan Couch had affluenza.
I remember.
And needed rehabilitation instead of prison. Because according to Couch, he had no understanding of boundaries because his parents never gave him any. And the judge said, oh, I could see that. Let's give him some therapy.
It's so hard.
Marky Mark. Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Marky Mark.
Just...
Y'all know him? Mark Wahlberg? Okay. In the 1980s, young Marky Mark, teenager, harassing Black children, going to school, 4th grade students on a field trip. He and a few of his thugs out there throwing rocks in the N-word at children, Black children, right? Marky Mark got arrested, I think, that day. Hurling rocks and the N-word, chasing children down the street, 4th graders. How old is that? 10-year-olds? Okay. Came back the next day with a posse and harassed. Let me give it the breakdown. 1986, 15-year-old, 3 friends were charged for chasing 3 Black children and pelting them with rocks while yelling, kill the N-words, until the ambulance driver came and intervened. Kill the N-words. That came out of Marky Mark's mouth, 15 years old. The next day, he came back with another group, with a larger group of children, and harassed these kids at the beach, Black children, while men joined the teenagers in racially abusing and throwing rocks at children at the beach. Then, in an unrelated incident, 2 years later, Mark Wahlberg attacked 2 Vietnamese men while he was high on PCP. He called the men effing Vietnamese SHITs and knocked the man unconscious with a 5-foot wooden stick, punching another man, Army veteran Johnny Tran, who's another Vietnamese, in the eye. And reports said he used racial slurs describing both men. But it's Marky Mark. He got to go on to be Marky Mark in the Funky Bunch, got to go on and culturally appropriate Black culture, got to go in the Calvin Klein ad, got to now be a box office. He got to grow up. I don't know if he's still that person. I'm not going to judge him based on what he did as a teenager, as a child, right? We can't judge these children, can we? I don't know. Apparently, if you're a white child, you have an opportunity to have a future. You can.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was just boys being boys. Olivia A. Cole.
Growth. They just needed to grow up. Meanwhile, they're still growing up the next time they do something, and they're 20, and then they're 25, and then they're 28. And it's just like, at what point is a white child considered an adult? Meanwhile, we know that, through study, but, both lived experience and, scientific study that, people perceive Black children as being older than they are, no matter their height. So it's like, when is a child? When is an adult an adult? And, we know that the rules change. The rules absolutely change.
Yes. Well, Marky Mark did get found guilty of violating the civil rights of his victims, his many victims, with civil rights injunctions and being issued against him and his two friends in the case. It was settled. So money was paid. With the Vietnamese, he was charged with attempted murder because, you hit somebody with a big stick. He pled guilty to felony assault. He pled it down, claiming that he was intoxicated and that the attacks weren't race related, even though racial slurs came out of his mouth. And, he's been asking for his record to be expunged or what have you. One of the victims, Kristen Atwood, was among the group of mostly Black fourth graders who were on a field trip at the beach in 1986 when Wahlberg and his white friends hurled rocks at them. She said, "I don't think he should get a pardon." She's now 38, living in Decatur, Georgia. She said in an interview with the Associated Press, she said, "I don't really care who he is. It doesn't make him an exception. If you're racist, you're always going to be a racist," in her opinion. I don't know if I agree with that, but, she might be right. And for him to want to erase it, I think, is just wrong. A white teacher, Mary Belamonte, who brought the students to the beach, she said, "I believe in forgiveness." Of course you do. She said he was just a young kid, a punk in the mean streets of Boston. He didn't do it specifically because he was a bad kid. He was just a follower doing what the other kids were doing. No, he corralled the next group. Like, what are we talking about?
Recruited. What are we talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. This was
so,
very.
Is it? Olivia, these your people. Are they capable of seeing? Because we're fighting something. The first time with Trump, 54% of white women came back this time. Same percentage. I saw them out in the streets with their pussy hats. I said, okay, this is performative, because when it comes down to it, you're going to always vote your interests. You're going to protect these children. You're going to always make provisions for them to be okay, because that's your seed. Yeah. How do we get around this?
I mean, so this may be unpopular. No, I'm not going to say this on air. I'm not gonna say this on here.
Okay, I'm glad you self-edited.
I'm gonna self-edit.
Wait. Before you don't say it, who is it gonna be unpopular with?
Oh, well, white people in the government.
Okay. Yeah, no, don't say it. It's not necessary.
Okay. So, but I will say this is kind of a non-answer a little bit, but so when we were talking about DC and this young person, Big Balls, getting beat up, and the response to his actions prior to this, and his response, and then the response to the actions of the young men how they 15, these boys who beat him up. There are different kinds of violence, and we can agree, sure, these 15-year-olds beating him up, yeah, that's violence. But why do we not understand is what he has been doing as violence also? What he is doing and has been doing, child or not, a federal employee, right? If he's grown enough to take this job and these, I assume, hundreds of thousands of dollars, we know little buddy's not getting paid 40 grand. We know, this is the part that's unpopular. Maybe he's man enough to take that ass beating is all I'm saying. But also, why is what he's doing, not considered violence? Why is not, robbing people of their livelihoods, cutting jobs, benefits for Social Security? That is a specific type of violence as well. And the way we understand violence is very narrow, and
Sure.
it's used to point, at young Black folks all the time. It's like, well, this is violent, they're violent, this, look at the behavior. Okay, okay, yeah, let's talk about it. But let's also talk about, not just even like the obvious, like Brock Turner, but like, what was the case with the Black boy, a high schooler who, the white classmate he had that had been verbally
Harassing
assaulting
him.
him,
Hmm.
harassing him with the slurs and all the things. And then now this boy, the Black boy, is now, being at the mercy of the criminal justice system. And it's, his violence is the only one that gets highlighted now. We're going to talk
Right.
about his violence,
Right.
but, and then we're
Carmelo
going to say,
Anthony.
there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. But that white boy that was doing all that stuff, it's like, well, those are just words. Those are just words. You got to turn the other cheek, no, those words are violent. They have a specific intent. White folks, we are known to throw a stone and hide our hands. And sometimes it is explicit, racial language, racial slurs, but sometimes it's, like the microaggressions and the stuff. But it's like, what we're really good at is then acting like that's not violence. And then getting to pretend that when there is a physically violent reaction, that's the only real kind of violence. And that's simply not true.
I couldn't agree more. I think we need to renegotiate what that is as well.
Mhm.
I was thinking about it listening to Walter Rodney, and you think of on purpose, it has been couched this way
Mhm.
because now you get to demonize people. It's, the second foul is always the one that the refs call,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's when you get ejected. It's, I think you're right. I think language is violence. I think policies are. I think it's more
Policies are
violent what
violent.
is happening with people losing their jobs, their livelihoods, their health care. That is way more violent than anything done to that kid who's
Yep.
going to recover. He's not,
Uh-huh.
But what is happening in this country right now is way more violent because some people will not recover. And some people's
Exactly.
lives will be lost as a result of these policies, which are way more violent. So what are we talking
Absolutely.
about?
What are we talking about? This woman who you said now lives in Decatur, that happened to her when she was a child. She is still living with it.
Yes.
She's still
Yes.
living with it. And people
Yeah.
are shocked that, we should ask, Mark Wahlberg to live with it too. Like he should have to live with it also. No, you can't expunge it. No, you can't, especially because to my knowledge, he's never made any type of public statement of remorse, all these things, so I mean, we could talk all day about whether somebody could be, if somebody's racist, are they always racist? Maybe, maybe not. But if they've not made any real, and you know what, he apologized, but that's not, an apology is not, constructing, that's not justice. An apology isn't
No,
justice.
it's not. It's not justice. He did
So
apologize, though. He said he
I'm
was
sure he
deeply
did.
sorry.
And I'm sure his
in
publicist prepared that
2020,
statement.
in 2020, he made
In
it.
2020, okay, yeah. In 2020, when everybody with my complexion was apologizing. So yeah, sure, okay, Marky Mark. But no, she's had to live with it. That violence, she's had to live with it. And that's how it goes, and I think actually Bell Hooks, to your point also, Bell Hooks talked about this, about like what is considered violent and like, are you, we're not going to talk about dropping bombs on other nations. That's supposed to be like that. That's okay. But I'm supposed to get bent out of shape and condemn, these, 15-year-old Black kids beating up this violent, little dude, like, no, I'm gonna sit with that, and I'm gonna comprehend where this falls in the greater landscape of everything that is happening, because what they're doing is contextual, and you are not going to make it about, oh, these 3 15-year-olds or 4 15-year-olds going, no, they are part of a much bigger picture.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive. live.